Anatomy and Physiology Exam 3 Study Guide. What are acids? Acids are proton donors. What are bases? Bases are proton acceptors. What is a strong acid? Make solution more acidic, less basic. What is a strong base? Make solution more basic, less acidic. What are buffers? Systems, one or more compounds that act to resist pH changes when strong acids or bases are added. What is respiratory alkalosis? Failure of respiratory system to perform pH balancing role. Hyperventilation causes respiratory alkalosis. Hypoventilation causes respiratory acidosis. What is metabolic alkalosis? Kidneys. Less common, indicating by rise in blood pH, and HCO3, which is biocarbonate. Causes include vomiting of acid, contents of stomach, or by the intake of excess base, which is antacid. What is metabolic acidosis? Low blood pH and HCO3 biocarbonate. Ingestion of too much alcohol or kidney failure. What is the normal pH of blood? 7.35 to 7.45. What is the normal level of CO2 in body? 35 to 45. What normal levels of HCO3 in body? 22 to 26. What happens if you have respiratory acidosis? What organ compensates and how? In respiratory acidosis, lungs are not functioning properly. Kidneys will help lungs to reduce HCO3 base so that the levels of the acid drops. Similarly, for respiratory alkalosis, acids are down and bases are high. Kidneys will convert those bases into acids to help keep balance. Metabolic is related to kidneys. Kidneys are a part of the urinary system, which they include ureters, transfer urine from kidney to urinary bladder. Urinary bladder, temporary storage reservoir for urine. Urethra, transports urine out of body. Where are kidneys located? Behind the peritoneum, aka retroperitoneal, which is in the T12 and L5. What is renal hilum? Area where the uterus, renal blood vessels, and nerves enter and exit. The layers of the surrounding supportive tissue include renal fascia, which is anchoring outer layer of dense fibrous connective tissue. Perineal fat capsule, fatty cushion. Fibrous capsule, prevents spread of infection to kidneys. Internal kidney regions include renal cortex, granular appearance, superficial region. Renal medulla, deep to cortex, composed of cone-shaped medullary pyramids. Papilla, tip of the pyramids points internally. Renal columns, separates the renal pyramids. Lobes, there's about 8 lobes per kidney. Renal pelvis, funnel-shaped lobe continues with ureter. The minor calyx, cup-shaped area that collects urine. Major calyx, area that collects urine from minor calyx, which empties in urine into renal pelvis. This is the urine flow. It starts with the nephron, collecting duct, renal medulla, renal pyramids, which is minor calyx, major calyx, renal pelvis, and ureter. The blood. Kidney cleanses blood and adjusts its composition so that there is a rich blood supply. Renal arteries deliver about 1/4 of cardiac output to kidney each minute. This is how the arterial flow goes from the aorta. Renal, segmental, interlobal, arcuate, cortical, radiate. The venous flow: cortical, radiate, arcuate, interlobal, and renal veins, inferior vena cava. Nerve supply: via sympathetic fiber from renal plexus. What are the Trusser's muscles? Specialized smooth muscles in the wall of the urinary bladder. What is trigone in urinary bladder? Smooth, triangular, and outlined by openings for the urethra. What is micturition? Micturition, known as urination or voiding. Why is glomerulus different? It's a different capillary because it starts and ends with an artery. Also, 90% of the nephrons are located in the cortex. The glomerulus, specialized for filtration. Afferent arterioles, interglomerulus, arise from cortical radiate arteries. Efferent feed into either peritubular capillaries or vasa recta. This is the blood supply of kidneys. It starts with the aorta, renal artery, segmental artery, interlobal artery, arcuate artery, cortical radiate artery, afferent arteriole, glomerulus capillaries, efferent arteriole, peritubular capillaries, or vasa recta, to cortical radiate veins, arcuate veins, interlobal veins, renal vein, to the inferior vena cava. Classes of nephrons. Cortical nephrons. 85% of the nephrons are mostly in the cortex. Juxtamedullary nephron is long nephron loops deeply invade the medulla. This one has the long loop. Also, ascending limbs have thick and thin segments, and is important in production of concentrated urine. Again, nephrons are located mostly in the cortex. Structural and functional unit that form urine. Two main parts. Renal corpuscle includes the glomerulus capillaries and the Bowman's cup or capsule. Renal tubule, which is the smaller loop, it's including the proximal convoluted tubule, nephron loop or loop of Henle, and then small distal convoluted tubule and collecting ducts. The renal corpuscle has two parts, right? Glomerulus, which allows efficient filtration, filtrates plasma-derived fluid that renal tubules process to form urine, which is water and electrolytes. Glomerular capsule, or the Bowman's capsule, is a cup-shaped hollow structure surrounding the glomerulus. It has two layers: parietal layer, which is simple squamous epithelium, and visceral layer, clings to the glomerular capillaries, branching epithelial podocytes to basement membrane. Filtration slits between the processes allow filtrate to pass into the capsular space. This is how the order of the flow. Bowman's capsule cup, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct, papilla, minor calyx, major calyx, renal sinus, urinary bladder, and then the urethra. Renal tubule has three parts. Proximal convoluted tubule, which is the closest to the renal corpuscle, it's in charge of reabsorption and secretion. Cuboidal cells with dense microvilli. Nephron loop, simple squamous epithelium. Distal convoluted tubule, furthest from the renal corpuscle, is in charge of secretion, then reabsorption. Is the cuboidal cells with few microvilli. Again, what is the Bowman's cup? Part of the nephron that forms a cup-like sac surrounding the glomerulus. Functions of the fenestrated capillaries. They move blood, fluid, and waves throughout your body. Layers of the Bowman's cup, parietal and visceral. What is filtrated from this? Water and electrolytes, which aka is urine. What are collecting ducts? Run through medullary pyramid striped appearances. Fused together to deliver urine through papillae into minor calyxes. There's two types. Principal cells, no microvilli, and maintains water and Na, which is sodium balance. Intercalated cells, cuboidal cells, and has abundant microvilla. There's two types, A and B. Both help maintain acid-base balance of the blood. Juxtaglomerulus complex. There's only one per nephron. 3 cell populations. Macula densa, granule cells, extraglomerular mesangial cells. Juxtaglomerular apparatus consists of cells that line the afferent arteriole, the macula densa cells of distal tubule. There's 3 processes in urine formation: filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Where is reabsorption done? Proximal part of the tubule. Where is the secretion done? Proximal and distal convoluted tubules. Glomerular filtration produces cells and protein-free filtrate. Tubular reabsorption selectively returns 99% of the substances from filtrate to blood in renal tubules and collecting ducts. Tubular secretion selectively more substance from blood to filtrate in renal tubules and collecting ducts. What is the function of proximal convoluted tubule? Site of the most of reabsorption, which is nutrients such as glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed. 65% of Na, which is sodium, and water reabsorbed. Many ions, almost all uric acid, about half of the urea, later secreted back into filtrating. What is being reabsorbed in the loop of Henle? Well, the descending limb, water can leave, but solutes cannot. Ascending limb, water cannot leave, and solutes can. What happens in distal convoluted tubules and collective duct? Reabsorption is normally regulated. Actually, back up. Reabsorption is hormonally regulated in these areas hormonally. Fine-tune salts and water reabsorption and plays a major role in acid-base balance. What is urine composition? 95% water and 5% solutes. Water and electrolyte. Urea is the largest solute compound, which is protein. Uric acid, from nucleic acid metabolism. Creatine, metabolite of creatine phosphate. What are normal solutes? Na, sodium, K, PO4, SO4, Ca, Mg, HCO3. Abnormal solutes. Any high concentration of any constituent or abnormal component, such as blood proteins, white blood cells, and bile pigments. What is the color after urine? Should be clear. Cloudy may indicate urinary tract infection. Pale to deep yellow form urochrome, pigments from hemoglobin breakdown. Yellow color deepens with increased concentration. Abnormal color would be pink, brown, and smoky, caused by certain foods, bile pigments, blood, or drugs. That is it. Good luck.